Alright, today I am reviewing Practical Vampyrism for Modern Vampires by Lady CG. This one was one that was kind of off my radar until I saw somebody mention it in a Discord server, and I decided, oh well, it's relevant, so I'll go and pick it up next time I order something from Amazon. And it is a very short. It's a very short book. It's like 168 pages. Um, it has pretty much everything that it says it has. It's a practical vampirism for modern vampires. There's stuff in here specifically about awakening, figuring all that stuff out, the blood stuff, the things that are probably going to be the most relevant are the blood substitutes, and some of the advice about dealing with community issues is sort of timeless. It doesn't really change. The section that I thought was very interesting, though, was the section on aging vampires as they age. That was something that I've not really seen in one of these books before. I don't know if I entirely agree with some of the things that have been said, but I do think it's a neat subject to sort of explore a little bit further. Let me go ahead and say that this book could have benefited from another pass by an editor. This is no shade to Lady CG. I've interacted with her. It was a few years ago, around the time when I first got on Discord, back when everybody was sort of moving to Discord. No shade to Lady CG at all. Very nice lady. I don't have anything bad to say about her. She was never anything but helpful and kind. But that said, the book, it plainly states in here that this book is primarily a compilation of articles that she had written for her own group, Smoke and Mirrors, and some e-groups in the past, and it kind of shows that it was just a collection of articles that she's written in the past, because it looks like there was maybe almost no proofreading on some of these after they were posted, and it's just small typographical errors is all it is, like the usual stuff you'll see online. I would blame autocorrect, but I don't know that autocorrect was really a thing when the majority of these were written. This book is copyrighted 2005, so you have to expect that the material is at least that old. That was 20 years ago, in case you've lost track of time, but that was 20 years ago. Consequently, because this was 20 years ago when this was written, there are articles in here related to how to find other people in the community, community spaces, community groups. Pretty much all of those URLs are defunct now. They don't exist anymore. Everybody has moved on to other things. Examples, Yahoo Groups. Yahoo Groups doesn't exist. That's been shut down. I don't know what became of all of the stuff, all of the material that was collected by all of these groups, but these particular URLs for these groups, all of this information is completely out of date. It's not really going to help anybody unless you can find like an Internet Archive, a Wayback Machine backups of these things. I didn't bother to look that deep. I did confirm that Yahoo Groups is not a thing. I confirmed that EasyBoard does not exist anymore. It was purchased by another company, and then that company was shut down and went defunct. So EasyBoard doesn't exist. There's a few other URLs in here, but I have to expect that those are just as deprecated as the EasyBoard stuff, as the Yahoo Group stuff. Some of the actual domains owned by organizations, these don't exist anymore either. I think Keperu.org still exists. I don't know how well maintained it is. Quinatar is possibly still up, Quinatar.org. House St. Germain is not. I did confirm that turns up nothing. Like I said, unless you get on Wayback Machine, you might be able to find something there. But point being, a lot of the web resources, the URLs and things, you're not going to get anything out of trying to, unless you can find it on a Wayback Machine or an archive. Like, you're not just going to be able to just pop these into your browser and take you to the infinite information on the vampire community that it probably existed in these places, which in itself is a shame. But I like to think that that information has probably been preserved by somebody somewhere, even if it is just kind of like a communal, tribal knowledge of things. So yeah, so just take it with a grain. If you do decide to get this, hey, there's some editing issues. Some of the URLs and things are outdated, but the rest of the information, for the most part, is pretty solid. There's a section on, obviously, like awakening and getting your stuff together, what vampirism is. There's the thing that most people, most newbies are going to find useful about this is the sheer amount of substitutes. This book probably has the most feeding, like actual blood feeding substitutes for that of any book that I've read, and pretty most resources that I've ever encountered. Actually, there's the good old tried and true rare steak here for cravings. And we can argue all day, oh, it's not really blood, it's myoglobin, whatever. If it works for you, it works for you. That's probably the biggest substitute to blood that is pushed in this book. There's a few other things. Some of them I had never heard of before. Like, you get your usual stuff like chocolate, cranberry, certain fruit juices and things. But yeah, let's flip to the chapter on blood substitutes. So let's see if we can let's find something interesting here. So, yeah, rare steaks, commented on that. All right, so blood wine. Blood wine is something that I have seen over the last 20 years. I have seen blood wine show up referenced, and not in like a fantasy RPG kind of way, but like an actual, you mix blood with wine and it kind of preserves the blood. This is the first time that I've seen an actual recipe for it, though, like an actual this proportion to that proportion, how to store it. I can't recall ever seeing an actual recipe on how to make it before. So that's in this book. There's a couple of feeding methods in here if you're into that. There's advice on vitamins. There's actually a guest chapter in here by Sphinx Cat BP, which is entirely about nutrition and vitamins. And the URLs that are cited in that article, that website is still up. I don't know if the specific articles are still have the same URLs, but at the very least, the website, the Doctor Yourself website, that is still up. I did confirm that works. But yeah, other recipes that are might be worth trying. So your usual tea juice mixtures, certain herbal teas. These tomato juice and beef broth. I can remember one that used to be like beef consomme, red Gatorade, and what was the other part to that? Some kind of, like, I want to say it was some kind of vitamin powder maybe, but the main components were beef consomme and Gatorade. Red Gatorade. I mean, you could probably it doesn't have to be red necessarily. It was probably just for, style points. I don't know why it had to be red Gatorade, but that's one that I can remember. But yeah, some of this stuff, chocolate milk, raw eggs, fresh pineapple, dark chocolate, whey protein isolate. That's one that I hadn't considered before. But yeah, that's a somewhat useful chapter for people that maybe did not get exposed to these things back in the day, in the old message board days. So it's good that this book kind of preserves that aspect. The other stuff about vitamins, I mean, it's vitamin advice. Like, it's not necessarily like vampire specific vitamin advice. It's more like just general human health vitamin advice, and you're gonna have to experiment with. It's like any other vitamin or supplement stack. Like, you're gonna have to experiment with what works for you. Some people need a little more, some people need a little less. And then, like, some of the stuff on dealing with community issues, like, you know, drama queens and conflict, that's always going to be relevant. How to handle being a solitary in like a conservative religious environment. That's some of this advice. I mean, this advice is it's going to be, it's going to continue to be relevant. There is a chapter on abilities. I know that vampire abilities can be controversial in the sense of whether they are actually a thing or not. I don't really have an opinion one way or the other on that. I will say, though, that the two that she lists, vampiric summoning, which is, I mean, it's sort of like telepathy. Like, you know, when you're thinking about somebody that you haven't talked to in a long time and then you get a phone call from them, it's basically that, but like applied, like you do it on purpose. And then the next one is blinking, which is something that used to be talked about a lot on the message boards, which is the argument being, are you actually moving faster or are you just changing your own perception of time? But it might be relevant to newer people that have never heard of it before. The thing that I found the most interesting was the chapter on vampiric aging. It's not called specifically Second Awakening in here, but she treats it more as like an evolution or another transformation sort of situation where once you hit a certain age, allegedly, most of the vampires she's talked to at this point, when this was written, they had all sort of experienced similar things once they got to like their late 30s, 40s time frame. They appear younger or appear to be aging in reverse or not aging at all. Some of them, she specifically mentions like health crises, so like heart attacks and things like that happen, and then afterward, like, you're perfectly fine. For whatever reason, there's no evidence of you ever having had a heart attack. You're perfectly fine now, and you're in better health than ever. You can kind of use your own judgment on that stuff. I don't have any particular opinion to voice on it, but I thought it was interesting as someone who is on the backside of 30. I thought it was interesting to sort of think about something I'd been thinking about for a little while. But yeah, the really only downside to this book is that it's almost $30. It's like $29 and change if you get the paperback on Amazon. And because of that, like I said, because of some of the editing, because of the fact that a lot of the resources are no longer active, no longer live, I don't know if it's worth $30, guys. If you are someone like me who you are trying to relive the heyday, you want to read the things that you didn't have the money to buy back in the day when they came out, if you are interested in looking at it as sort of like a time capsule of the community, and you got $30 to spend, I mean, yeah, sure. But as far as it being an absolutely must-have for every awakening vampire, I don't know that it is. The specific book. The resources are good, don't get me wrong, but like this specific book, you could probably just be better off going online and finding CG's current groups and like asking for resources and help there. Because as far as I'm aware, Lady CG is still active. I haven't spoken to her or seen her online in, I don't know, 4 or 5 years probably. But to the best of my knowledge, she still maintains a server on Discord that is essentially an evolution of the old Smoke and Mirrors web forums that she used to run. But she was, as of 5 years ago, still out there, still active. I am certain that if you track down her Discord server, there will be more than one person willing to point you in the right direction for resources related to this. So, yeah, if you're young, you don't have a lot of money, you got a lot of questions, you don't know what's going on, this isn't really a gotta-have kind of thing. But Lady CG herself is definitely a good resource. And if you happen to have $30 to throw at this, you're someone like me, you've been around a while, you are, more interested in how the community has developed, maybe reliving some of your youth. Yeah, sure. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this book as far as like being a book. It's just that it's not current. It's not a current book as far as having practical information, or I should say practical resources. The information, a lot of the information isn't going to change. How to deal with problem people, how to deal with awakening, how to deal with hunger. That stuff doesn't really change. But as far as the resources, like I said, the URLs, the web addresses, it's not current. So you can kind of take that for what it's worth. As I said, it's on Amazon for $29 and change as of the time of recording this. So if you really want to get it, it's there to get. But I'm not going to say it's a must-have, but there's nothing wrong with it. So yeah, just take all of it with a grain of salt. It's definitely a good piece of history, though. Definitely a good piece of community history. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the book. As I said before, no shade toward Lady CG. I've never written a book, so I'm not gonna I'm not gonna poo-poo on that about have oh well your book you wrote a book. Well, how many books have I written? None. So yeah, much props to her for putting her neck out, even writing this, getting this published. The fact that it's still in circulation to buy brand new. So yeah, no shade to her. It's just I don't see the book as being necessarily like a must-have for every vampire. Like you could probably survive without it, and if you just track down some of the modern resources, the modern communities, like you're going to get in touch with the right people that have the right resources. So yeah, that's really about all I have to say about the book. If you stuck around this long, I appreciate it. Please remember to like and subscribe to my channel. Like my videos, subscribe to my channel. I always read comments. Please leave comments if you have something to say. I will make content based on what is popular, and sometimes I make content based on what's not popular, but I like to make it. So, I got a little bit out there for everybody. So yeah, if you're still hanging out with me, I appreciate it. And until next time, take it easy.